You're welcome once again to another edition of Point View with Lady Funke. I still remain your anchor, Little Lady Funke. Today we'll be having a chat with one of the advocates of good governance in Nigeria, Mr. Ayo Ologun. You're welcome to the show, sir.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Sir, you are, as an advocate of good governance, how do you rate the 7 months of Governor Adeleke in Osun State? In almost all the aspects of governance, how can you rate his administration so far?
Well, for me, 7 months of Governor Adeleke in Osun State has been a mixed bag of both good and bad. Like I've often said, that even the dumbest of persons putting in the office of the governor will do some things right. The aggregate of what that person does right in comparison to what he does wrong is where we begin to aggregate achievements or success as the case may be. So there's no way we want to look at the 7 months of Governor Adeleke and will not identify a number of things that he has done well. But whether that is enough or commensurate with the things he has done wrong will be another thing. But if you want to put it on an aggregate, I would say that Governor Adeleke has not done so well in 7 months, given the euphoria that greeted his coming into office and the promises that he made before assuming office. And it speaks to one fact, that many a times when we tell some of these politicians to be careful about the kind of promises they make in the euphoria of trying to get votes or to get people convinced to vote for them, they commit themselves to things that are unachievable because they do not even understand the enormity of the office that they are coming to occupy and the dynamics of governance that will stare them in the face when coming in. I think let's begin to speak to the issues. You will recall I just very early this morning I decided to go and watch again the governorship debate where Governor Demola was saying, I'm a confident guy, I'm speaking to my people and they are hearing me. And he was so enthusiastic in saying that the backlog of salary owed by the Shola will be paid by him in 6 months. He said that clearly. And I asked myself, 1, 2, 3, 4, from November 27th till today, are we still below or over 6 months? It's the 7th month of his administration and he has paid only 2 months of the backlog of those salaries. One, for me, it is over enthusiasm for him to have chosen to make such statements because it was not realistic. Even the 2 months he has paid, kudos should be given to him. But nobody will look at your intention. People want to gauge you, want to judge you by your utterances. So no matter the beauty of his intention, his failure to keep to his words, to say I will pay backlog of salary in 6 months, and 6 months has passed and you have only paid 2, shows that you have failed your promise to the people. If you look at composition of government, for a man, of course they will give excuses, oh there were tribunal cases, court cases, he didn't enable us to do this or that. But 7 months into life administration without the cabinet is a lot because it speaks to how much you achieve. Because the rest of the cabinet is for robust discussion, robust engagement. You sit in cabinet to look at your policy direction, fees and fees, what is provided for in the budget, how do you achieve it. So when you don't have a cabinet in place, most of these decisions is assumedly taken by maybe you and your kitchen cabinet, your SLG and what have you, which most of the time is not as effective as should be. And as if that is not enough, I recall that the law was signed by President Muhammadu Buhari on March 17 or 27, whichever way, I'm not so sure of the date, that states that every governor and president in 60 days of administration should submit list of commissioners and ministers to the State Assembly or the National Assembly as possible. Given Demola that the Dutch law was not in place up till March, even though it took over in November, between the day that bill was signed into law, counting from that day, 60 days has elapsed before he eventually turned in the list of his commissioners to the House of Assembly, which for me is a breaking of the law. You have not committed yourself to the provision of that law by ensuring that in 60 days from the date of the signing of that document into law, you submit the list of the commissioners. And even at that, the list of the commissioners that are supposed to work with him has eventually been submitted. And I will begin to look at how sustainable is the size of that cabinet and the persons in that cabinet. For me, I don't think Osun State deserves a cabinet of 25 commissioners and advisors at this time. I'm also privy to an information that another 25 lists is on the way to be submitted as advisors. So which means in all we'll be having about 50. For a ministry, for a state that has 15 ministries. This shenanigans started under Adeleke Ayo Ologun, who splitted the ministries to create jobs for the boys and create food for the retinue of the people that came with, splitted the Ministry of Education, then we started having Commissioner for Higher Education, we started having Ministry of Innovation and what have you. It was all splitted unduly. And one would have thought that the former Governor Boyega Etola would have been firm enough to have possibly shrink some of these ministries together, especially when he inherited a near bankrupt state from Rauf. Maybe for the purpose of political correctness, he also failed in doing that. And the Demola is doing the same part by bringing up a bogus cabinet of 25. Maybe we have 15 ministers, maybe 15 commissioners, maybe 10 special advisors that will become advisors in cabinet. Because it's not all special advisors that sit in cabinet. But for him to have submitted that 25, that means it's going to be 15 commissioners, because we have 15 ministries, and then 10 special advisors in cabinet, which are also as ranked as they enjoy every privilege like a commissioner would do in terms of salaries, emoluments, and also it's as good as having 25 commissioners. So it's unexpected that for a state that is struggling with funding in terms of IGR, in terms of the money accruable from the federal government, you are not talking of streamlining or trimming the ministries and fusing them together for efficiency. You are coming with the enormity of that big cabinet. For me, it is too big for a state like Osun at this time. Another thing you want to look at in the list of that commissioner is the short-sightedness of the governor and his handlers in affirmative actions. That is what is called the women affirmative actions. People have said, look, you cannot tell us that we should create special places for women. And there's a difference between what do you call it? That there's not between women inclusion in governance and rights and equal rights for men and women. They are two different things. If you are talking about equal rights, you can tell women are free to go and collect funds to contest councillor, contest of assembly, but you know they are disadvantaged. So many of them, except for very serious ones, many of them are not likely to make victory at the primary election because they are disadvantaged compared to the men. That is equality. So we are not talking about equality. We are talking about inclusion. And that's why we have the affirmative action on women, talking about 30% in every political office and what have you. So it should have been a deliberate thing by creating space for women inclusion in governance. And if you want to look at the State House of Assembly, there are 26 members. None is a female, which means the person that will be chairman of Committee on Women Affairs will be a man. So whether he will be wearing a skirt or will be tying wrapper, we'll see when we get there. Then you form governance, from governor to deputy, to the chief of staff, deputy chief of staff, the SSG, the spokesperson to the government, who are the kitchen cabinet of the government. None of them is a woman. So where is the place of women in governance? And we do not forget that these are the people that you throw in the front to do the dancing, to do the mobilization, do the campaign. It is time for governance now, they are not good enough. And let's even assume we can overlook all that. You now came up with a 25-man list of commissioners, and you can only give women 2 slots. Whether that is 1/10 or 1/20 or 1 over whatever aggregate you want to put it, it's not good enough.
Sir, speaking about the commissioner nominees, sir, the APC have accused the PDP government that their commissioner nominees are not aspiring. What can you say about that, sir?
Well, for me, I think it's too early to throw the child away with the bathwater. I've seen that list, and I must tell you that personally that list is not inspiring. Because what you have in that list are repetitive politicians, or what we call logwoods, deadwoods, politically and intellectually, with due respect to a few of them that are outstanding. Not every one of them on that cabinet. But in a situation whereby you have a cabinet of 5, and you have about 10 of them as party leaders, people that have been in politics for 20-25 years. Some of them have been SA in 1999, some of them have been this. And 20-something years after, you are recirculating this kind of persons in an age where people are aspiring to looking at youthful inclusion in governance, then it's not too good enough. A BT Salam, what's the name of the former PDP chairman now? Oganiola Oluwa on that list. A person like Reverend Bumijenyi on that list, for me, does not show sense of seriousness. These are political leaders in their rights. They should be sitting as elders to give counsel, not people. You've been national officer of a party, you've been the party chairman in the states, you've been gone this, gone that, coming back years after to be commissioner. That list is uninspiring, except for a fusion of a few. When you talk about maybe Professor Adeleke, who's a new breed, and then a lot of people can say, okay, these ones are very well. You look at the Bill Odunlade again in the cabinet after about 10 years or thereabouts of his first term in the regime of Aregbesola and all of this. To me, that list is not inspiring. I would have expected that in an age where people are asking for youth inclusion, we should have had more young persons in that cabinet than the list that is being paraded. I've checked that list. I don't see anybody less than the age of 40 in that list. So where is, apart from the fact that you didn't have women inclusion, there's also not youth inclusion in that list. And whether you like it or not, except the governor retrieve that list and present another one, that is the would-be commissioners for this state, maybe in another 2 or 3 years before there could be a cabinet reshuffle or that. So for me, it is a pack of dead woods. It's uninspiring. It lacks women inclusion and it also lacks youth inclusion.
So I'm going to in the past few years, Osun State was adjudged to be one of the most safest states in the country. But today, before the presidential election, we could see the level of violence that erupted the state. What can you say about that?
Osun State has lost its glory as one of the safest states in this country. At a point in time, people will tell you Osun is one of the most peaceful states. Except people are not speaking to facts or speaking to figures. Can you still adjudge Osun as a safe state? In the build-up to the governorship and the presidential election, not less than 30-something attacks were recorded, because I'm privy to that by the report of the police. Not less than about 12 lives were lost. So how do you adjudge a state as being peaceful when people lose their life simply because of electoral victory and what have you? And as if that is not enough, we are simply going back to the era of not being safe. For those of us who have been here all along, I've spent well over 40 years of my life in Osun, so I know this for sure. It's like going back to the dark days of Oyinlola, when you cannot sleep with your 2 eyes closed. Today now, you see cultists, you see thugs, non-state actors go around the state with pride. They will even tell you I'm this and that. I can give you examples without necessarily mentioning them. Go to the front of Ayebaju Market, you see a base of non-state actors there. They tell you this is the space the government has given to them to carry out. As what? You are not revenue, you are not generating revenue for the government, you are not a staff of the Ministry of Land and your cooperative or whatever it's called, you are not a staff of the government, and you are allocating government land to individuals, raking money into your pockets. Something happened of recent, which also included the DSS, thugs beating somebody to pulp, almost to the point of death. The young man is still in the hospital. That happened last week, Thursday or Friday. We are not living in a society where thugs are reigning supreme, where once you say a thing against the government, you are seen as an enemy of the state, and they can unleash terror on you by asking thugs to go after you and what have you. So I want to say this, that Under Adeleke, as the governor of the state, needs to do more in protecting the state. First and foremost, he needs to rein in the political thugs across board, whether in APC or PDP does not matter.
Coming to that, sir, recently a former spokesman of the Senate, Senator Jibola Bashir, accused the governor of encouraging thuggery by harboring some thugs in his country home. Won't you relate that to what is happening in terms of security in the state now? Of
course, there have been accusations and counter-accusations from the PDP camp against the APC. And I must tell you that personally I've also spoken out on the issue of free flow of non-state actors. I prefer to call them non-state actors. That's what you call thugs. But for me, they are non-state actors because they've moved beyond being thugs to being found around people that hold the power of government. So if someone who is a terror in his community is seen in the convoy or in the company of a governor or the SSD or the chief of staff, they have possibly been upgraded from being an ordinary thug to becoming a non-state actor, someone with the state power without being official about it. And that is the least, that is the lowest we could go. Look at what happened in Negbatedo last week, when cultists could come out boldly to say they want to celebrate 7/7, they want to celebrate Cultist Day. In a state where we are battling with insecurity, in a state where there are a lot of non-state actors. I learned the police, instead of arresting thugs, eventually arrested a cow. Okay, we get to that one where we get there. But then the question is, these are snippets that shows you that the state capital particularly, especially Osogbo, Ilesha and Ife axis, is becoming so unsafe by reports of court clashes, killings, maimings and what have you. And the most important responsibility of any government is protection of life and property. So if as a government you fail to protect life and property of your citizens, no matter your achievements economic-wise, you have simply failed. Because it's only a person who is safe that can be thinking about to make economic gains. So I think the state government needs to do more. Not just to convince us that they are not promoting thuggery, but in ensuring that they collaborate with Nigerian police force and other state agencies to mop up all the state actors that are becoming threats to our well-being as a people of the state.
So I want us to speak about the IGR of the state of Osun. Let's say something about the state governor not fulfilling his promise of paying the arrears of the civil servants. Don't you think it's as a result of the decline in the state's IGR?
Well, I think one of the things that most of these leaders fail to realize is that there is what we call reality and peculiarity to governance. By the time Rahul Faregbeshola took over government, whatever name you want to give to him, his 8 years witnessed serious increase in the IGR of the state. He almost tripled what the case was under Oyinlola. When Isaka Adegboyega also took over, he improved on the IGR generation of the state government. But there has been a decline between when Oyetola left and the 7 months of Under Adeleke as governor of the state. And it's simple mathematics. I've told you that there's no way you leave governance in the hand of state actors and you can make profit. For example, I'll give you an instance of some of these non-state actors making the front of Ayegbaju market their base. They hosted the flag. Go there 7 a.m. you meet them. Go there 11 p.m. you meet them. They are even selling, apportioning land, government land to individuals, collecting the money in their pockets. And the government is looking away. So the money that's supposed to be accruable to the purse of the government, individuals are taking it into their purse. There's no way there won't be decline in IGR. It's not just possible. I mean, in the moment you feel your responsibility of blocking leakages and blocking loopholes, this is where we find ourselves. So when you leave governance in the state of non-state actors and money that's supposed to be accruable to the state becomes profit in the hands of individuals for political gain, that's where we find ourselves. So instead of the state to begin to increase in Nigeria, to begin to decline. And this is the way to go. We cannot be waiting on reliance on allocation from the federal government. We can't. Every state is striving hard to bring up investment that can relate or be consistent with the reality of their expenditure. A state like Lagos State and the rest, Rivers and the rest, they are not waiting for reason from the federal government. The IGR of Lagos can conveniently take care of its wage bill. But if Osun State, for example, is not paid allocation in a month or two, I wonder if we can survive on the peanuts that we're making as IGR. And that is the way to go. A democratic administration needs to do all that it takes to increase revenue generation without burdening the people. I think it's important to say that because you don't, because you want to generate funds for the government, begin to burden the people by tax, pay tax for this because of that. No. At the period where Nigerians are groaning under the hardship of fuel subsidy and what have you, you should be looking for how to cushion that effect. And the only way to do that is to ensure that you don't burden people with unnecessary tax payment. Notwithstanding, there has to be ingenuity and creativity in ensuring that internal revenue is shoveled up.
Okay, sir. Obviously, there are challenges before Governor Ademola Adeleke. What advice do you have for him to confront those challenges, for him to have a successful tenure?
Every administration comes, a person is elected to solve problems. People are elected to solve challenges. So it's not, for me, I do say this, I don't congratulate people when they get appointed to office. I wait till the expiration of your tenure to see if you succeeded or not before I congratulate you. So if you wanted the job of a governor, nobody came to his door in Ede to say, come and be our governor. You asked for the job and the people gave you the job. And the job given to you is to solve their problems. So if you must solve their problem, you must look at what is the source of the problem. And that's where this government is failing for me. Before you talk about solving problem, you look at the source of the problem. If our problem in this state is water or electricity, you look at what is the cause. Determine the cause of the problem before setting up measures for solution. The greatest problem of this state now is revenue. Osun State is one of the poorest states in the country. So no matter how much of good intention you have in infrastructural development, in making life easy for workers, with the workforce, and students, and what have you, if you have good intention and you don't have money to back it up, the intention is as good as non-existent. So if you know that our problem at the state is revenue, what you should be looking at is what can we put in place to increase the revenue drive of the state so that it can be commensurate with whatever project you have in mind in terms of infrastructure. So I will advise, just like you asked, the first thing this administration needs to do is to bring together intellectuals who can help her to reason on how to enhance the revenue of the state. It's only when we have enough revenue that we can pay the workforce and ensure that the students' loans and schemes and bursary are paid. That's when we can ensure that bridges are built, roads are built. So even if you don't have revenue, all these intentions remains at the level of intention. So the first and fundamental duty 1 year is to shovel up revenue generation. That's number one. Number two is to ensure that governance is not left in the hand of jokers. Your team determines your success as a governor. If you have a cabinet that is uninspiring, if you have a cabinet that people have no respect for, if you have a cabinet that cannot sit in council meeting and argue on policies for development, and all they say is, Your Excellency, is that the way you want it? I agree. Then you are going to fail. The essence of a cabinet is that you come with policies, you deliberate it. Mr. Governor, this will work. By experience, this will not work. This is that is the essence of the cabinet. When you have an uninspiring cabinet where everything they say is yes sir, then you know that you've already set up yourself for failure. The third thing that administration needs to do is to ensure that the life and property of the people is not negotiated. You can compensate your political allies with any other thing, but not at the detriment of the security of lives and properties of the people. You owe it a responsibility to ensure that as indigents, citizens, and as dwellers of this state, every one of us is protected without threat, irrespective of political affiliations or political leanings or political bias. You owe it a duty as a governor to protect the people, and that should not be negotiated. And lastly, the governor needs to ensure that the state is not brought into disrepute. Not brought into disrepute because you can't just afford to do projects for project's sake. You have to do projects looking at the efficacy of such projects in the reality of the 21st century. One of such is the borehole thing he did. People will ask.
I wanted to ask about the borehole.
Who thinks about borehole in the 21st century? When we are talking about eco-friendly attempts. Look, most of these other countries where you hear of earthquakes here and there, this is the way they started. When you begin to sand-fill waterways, when you begin to to dig on needful boreholes in different parts of the world, you are creating oil below the earth surface, which leads into earthquake with time. It becomes environmentally unfriendly. So one would have expected that it should think out of the box. The way to go for water provision is not thinking of boreholes. You should be thinking of high-scale water provision. Look at seriously, we have a dam in there. Maybe there are one or two other dams. I think there's one around Okela. What you should look at is, okay, let's look at our area of strength where we have water in abundance. How do we refine water and how do we network the distribution to the state? Not when you go ahead sinking borehole in different parts of the state. I think that is not enough. You are powering it with generator, which is another non-eco-friendly attempt. People are moving away from things that can pollute the environment.
Will you speak about the cost of that?
I'm coming to the cost. If you power boreholes with generator in the 21st century, it shows the seriousness on the part of the government. Because people are thinking of solar energy, they are thinking of wind energy, and you are still bringing generators that will be bringing out smoke and will cause environmental hazards. In the 21st century, it shows the seriousness on the part of the government. Even these generators, who will be responsible? At a situation where we are buying fuel for 600 naira per litre, what provision has been made to fuel these generators? Or you expect the people to whose advantage you put borehole to also be the one to contribute money to fuel generator? In no scale generator, you will tie the generator with chain to the tank. Somebody will go there overnight, call it and take it home, and then you begin to talk of looting again. Or you want to go and put it in the house of one leader who use it to pump water in the morning and use it to power his own house at night, and then the community will bear the grudges, the burden of servicing and what have you. All these things are not realistic. And then we come to the issue of cost. I belong to a group called the Osun Mastermind. When we did our investigation, we challenged them that our record shows that you gave this contract out at 14 million naira per borehole. They called us all kinds of names. We are not government friendly, we are sponsored, we are enemy of the state. Okay, fine. That is our own finding. 14 million naira per borehole. You said it is not. They give us a whole figure.
Have they been able to give us the
They said it will be given at the Pade Male in June. This is July. The Pade Male has failed. So it's a way of allowing time to wash off the questions people are asking them. If you are saying it is not 14 million, okay, we agree it is not 14 million. What is the figure? Because a reasonable thinking person will ask, how do you dig borehole with 14 million? This is not, we are not living in Russia, where we will say, oh, you have to go thousands of miles under the ground before you get water. What is even the cost of land in Osogbo? The cost of land, the cost of building a house on that land, and even the interior. How much does an average 2-bedroom flat cost in Osogbo? The cost of the land. Land is still about 3 million, 4 million naira in Osogbo. With 5, 7 million, you can put blocks in that. So you are now saying you are awarding contract of a borehole for 14 million.
14 million.
Only for us to find out that the boreholes is just 2 tanks on at the top, powered by a generator. And I ask, of the 332 boreholes that they claim they have sunk, at whatever price they claim, they should come and tell us how many of it is working. We did an investigation and we came out and said, look, less than 1/4 of these boreholes are functional. If you say otherwise, then prove it. The burden of proof is on him who claims he has done or not done anything. So if you claim that these boreholes are functioning, then give us a proof. 1 month after they claim that the boreholes are functional and we are the one line, it is 1 month after that you are now bringing the generator. So if you claim that the boreholes have been working 1 month ago, and it is 1 month after that you are now bringing the generator to power the same borehole, so how has it been working in the last 1 or 2 months that you claim it has been working? Has it been using hand pumping, or have you been speaking to the borehole and they come to life and start working? We said it were not working. You said it was working 1 month or 2 months ago. Only for you to be bringing the generator 1 month after.
The borehole we are supposed to be part of this 100 days achievement.
100-day fraud. That is what it is for me. Because it was the sinking of borehole, 302 boreholes, was listed as part of achievement of 100 days. In 100 days of that administration, I doubt if any of those boreholes was functional. And if you claimed they were functional as at the time you did 100 days, at least it was in the news that just last week you bought generators. Last week, counted down, it's not 100 days. 100 days just about 3 months in office, spent 7 months. That's more than 200 days of office. You are just bringing generator supposedly to power a borehole that you claim had been working in your 100 days in office. We are not fools. If you put a borehole, you will need something to power it. So if there has been no electricity to power it, there has been no generator to power it, and you claim it was working in your 100 days, what is the need for the generator you are bringing 240 days after? It simply shows that you simply scammed the people. You simply lied, because those generators could not have worked without being powered. And the source of power is the generator as is contained in the contract document. So you are bringing source of power for a borehole that you claimed has been working months ago, just last week. Then people can find the loopholes and let us know who is lying and who is coming.
Thank you, sir. It's nice talking to you, sir.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.